I was a sailor on an oceanographic ship. On this particular cruise, we were on for 6 months. But about 2 months into that trip, in this experience at sea, I had all my thinking stopped. And I needed to find out what happened. How did this happen to me? And so I started reading books, tried to find somebody to help me. And I found a book in the ship's library called Yoga. And he spoke about enlightenment and what happens to the mind. And it struck home. It made sense. I said, oh, this person would tell me. This person would help me. He really makes sense, the way he spoke. He obviously had the way. So he says it's important to try to find a good teacher. So I said, well, that's what I need to do then. So that's how I kind of approached Buddhism. At that time, I was dating a young woman whose friend was Hang Yin, former Hang Yin. They were schoolmates. They went to the University of Washington together. And they were roommates, so they were very close friends, and they'd always write each other. And she was writing about her experiences with this old Chinese monk who was enlightened. And I said, oh, I really need to meet this person. I needed to find somebody that can help me understand what happened. And I think this person definitely could do it. The way she wrote about him, he sounded very real. She was able to make arrangements for me to meet him. Before I went to San Francisco, I had a dream, and then there was the master, Venerable Shifu, and there was the 5 Western disciples who were left home, the first 5. There was Hang Xian, Hang Jing, Hang Shou, Hang Yin, Hang Che. And they were all sitting there with the master on the floor together in a circle. And then I just kind of went in a door in my dream, and they all looked up at me and all laughed. That was my dream. So I said, wow, that was kind of a special dream. So I eventually did get down to San Francisco. We were in Chinatown, in Waverly Place. And there was this old building there. And the lecture hall where the master was on the 3rd floor. It's called the Buddhist Lecture Hall. But it was a very old Taoist temple that we were leasing. They were leasing it. And you can only get to it through this old rickety staircase. So I started following former Hang Yin up the steps, and she turned and said, oh, by the way, you really need to want to be a Buddha if you wish to meet the master. I said, well, I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what a Buddha is. I never studied Buddhism. She says, oh, okay, come on. I'll show you. I'll introduce you anyway. So we went up to the top, and the master at that time was standing there with the other shamanis, and he was showing them how to fold the sitting cloth. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what he was doing. I just saw him folding a cloth. And then from Hang Yin, she could already speak Mandarin at that time. So she went up to him and said, this person wants to meet you. And Shifu just laughed. He says, him? What took you so long? That's what he said. That's how I met the master. But I could see in his eyes that he was true. I knew that he was very special, just intuitively. Because I saw his eyes, they didn't seem like they were connected to his body. It's like he was using this body as a temporary device just to be able to interact with people. And I knew that there's something very special about this person. I just felt it. I didn't see any fireworks or anything, but I just felt it very strongly. And I didn't understand why he says, what took you so long? He says, oh, so you finally got here. It was something like that in Chinese. I don't know exactly what he said, but Heng Yin translated. She says, oh, you finally got here. What took you so long? First of all, I don't know anything about Chinese. I don't know anything about Chinese culture. I don't know anything about Buddhism at all. Nothing. I had no background in it. They invited me to come to the lecture that night, so I went to the lecture. But at that time, it was in the early days, and nobody was really good at translating or just learning the Chinese themselves. But I didn't know what the Sarangama, I don't even know what a sutra is, how much the less Sarangama Sutra. They were trying to translate each character, each word that Shifu said, rather than try to translate the meaning, they were translating the characters. So it was very, very stifled. Later they said, we're going to do a session. You're invited to come if you want. And it's meditation, and then we cite the Suranga mantra and sutra. We did a lot of meditation. I said, well, this makes sense because I read about that in yoga. Meditation can still your mind, and I definitely wanted to still my mind because I wanted to go back to that experience again that I had on the ship. And then Hung Shin, David Fox, former Hung Shin, he said, okay, the master has agreed to let people apply to be his disciples if they wish. And here's the application form. Everybody can fill it out. We had about a couple dozen people there. They were new, so they were filling it out. I said, oh, okay, I'll fill it out too. So I filled out the application form, and then I started having a lot of false thinking. I said, how can I dare ask this person, to be his disciple? I don't even understand Buddhism or anything. It's not, I'm just cheating him. I don't want to do that. I don't know enough. I don't dare. I was really feeling uncomfortable about the application that I filled out. And then I saw this big poster of Shu Lao they had on the wall. They had a really big big picture of him. And it's the picture where he's sitting on a seat, and you could see he had a very severe look on his face, very concentrated look. And is holding up some beads, I think, but one of his fingers was missing. And they told me that finger he burned off, his finger. What? He said he burned his finger off. I said, why did he do that? I said, oh my God, these people are not playing games. They're very serious. I really got nervous then. So I said, I better go talk with this master and beg his forgiveness for wasting his time, because I'm not ready for that. I went to his room. It was in the back. Every place was very small. And in the back he had a room back there. So I went back there and knocked on the door. Bom, bom, bom. And meanwhile, David Fox saw me do that. And at that time, he was the head bhikshu. So he said, oh no, what are you doing? He goes running after me. He says, don't bother the master. You're not supposed to be knocking on his door. What are you doing? And the moment I knock on the door, Sherpa opened the door. He says, oh, everything okay? Come in. So I'm very sorry, sir. I'm very sorry. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I filled out the application, but I'm really not. Oh, he says, no problem. Everything okay. He says, take a break. Go take a break. You can come back later when you're ready. No need to worry about it. Everything okay. He kept saying that over and over. So he already knew my state. So I knew that. I knew that he had some kind of very special, now we call it Shinton, but spiritual capable. But I just didn't know the extent of it, But I knew he understood my situation. I just knew it. So I felt very bad. So I left for a while. I went to Zen Center for a while, tried to Zen. It was all just surface, not profound enough. So, and then eventually, former Hung Yin, Hun Lani, she sent me a note. She says, you should come back. You should come back here. So I said, yeah, I better. I can't keep running away. So by that time, when I came back, they'd already moved from Waverly Place. They just bought this new place in Mission District, an old factory building. And they named it Gold Mountain Monastery. And they were still, it was still really dirty. They just bought it. It's everything piled up everywhere. They're trying to clean it all up. I came later in the evening. It was close to 6. And the master says, okay, we'll all take a break now. Everybody get washed up. We're going to have a lecture. He saw me coming. I came, and then he says, oh, you came back. And then he says, here, come sit here. So he made me sit right next to him while he lectured. I forget what he was lecturing. He said, maybe the 6 Patriarch Sutra or something. I don't remember. But because I couldn't understand it anyway. I felt so embarrassed. He made me sit right next to him while he's lecturing.
I'm 这儿有一个果回的，字叫恒来。这个人呢， 当初报名要皈依，我就对大家说了，我是示范皈依我的人呢，都要成佛。你要不成佛嘛，不愿意成佛就赶快跑啊！现在还可以来得及，我就不收你。你们这果回嘛，什么他都愿意成啊，就是不愿意成佛。于是乎啊，他也不敢皈依了，拔起腿就跑，就跑了，逃之夭夭了。跑了几年，跑到什么地儿去呢？跑到海里去。他在陆地上啊，恐怕又找他回来成佛。那么到海里，到那个潜水艇里边去，总在海里头迷着。你看这找不着了吧？可是有一天嘛，这个特别的情形就出现了。他问什么地方看嘛？什么地方有这么一个鬼现出来？这个鬼是谁呢？就是他以前要皈依的，叫他成佛这个人。那么他看桌子也是这个鬼，看板凳也是这个鬼啊，没有一个地方不是这个鬼的。于是乎，他晚间又听见呢，在这个船板上啊，好像穿皮鞋那么走。这样子经过了9天的时间，都是这样子啊，无论往哪地方，除非他不看，不睁眼睛，甚至闭着眼睛也看见这个鬼，所有地方都是这么样子。他想，哦，大要钻到海里也跑不了，还要回去成佛去了，所以就回来了。回来这回又报名皈依，所以啊，给他起的名字叫果回，字叫恒来啊。这回不跑了，那不跑，但是啊，还是有的时候啊，打一件妄想，打妄想跑。可是啊，这是不要紧的。我呀，把这个果回这个事情呢，告诉你们各位听一听。